Oh no, you need to request
We
record
are
the list.
recording.
Right. I'm sorry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Why It's So Hard to Receive. And my name's Kate Codrington. I'm an author and a facilitator and a speaker, and this is Leo.
Leo.
How,
I'm
how do you go by? What professional monikers do you like?
Leo Taylor, convolutedly yoga teacher, massage therapist, author, and other things in the self-employed arena.
Yes. And we thought we would talk about receiving because it's come up a lot with our clients um, in terms of receiving compliments, filling up, uh, feeling with nourishment, giving ourselves the right food, giving ourselves time, and uh, all the money, all those things. And what we notice, our basic premise is that it's hard to receive because we're socialized as female.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking, actually, Kate, that we had this sort of, like glitchiness with even recording this, that tech is like so constantly bombarding us with things to do that kind of keeps us in this sort of hyper vigilant state. Like, we've spent 10 minutes already, haven't we, trying to make this live go, work, and we've reverted to another tech, and that's sort of constant, isn't it? Which is another thing that interferes with our ability to drop into more
Yeah.
restorative and healing states.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for saying that. I was thinking exactly the same. And when I was preparing for this, I was thinking about how there's a sort of vicious cycle. So we
Mm.
feel that we're not enough. We've been told that we're not enough. We act like we're not enough. We've received that reflected back to us uh, from the world's reaction to us. And that creates a hypervigilance, an attention, and a speediness to do more, to
Mm.
be more, to be on a different platform, be more articulate, to say more sensible things
Yeah.
in a
Constantly.
really kind of tense and tight way, which then actively prevents us from receiving at all. So to receive, I reckon, and I'm interested in your list, Leo. For me to receive, I have to slow down, ground, engage a spot of mindfulness going on, listen
Mm.
to the dialogue in my head, and also, moving from hypervigilance into even the potential of receiving. And I think this is something that I came across from Tara Brock talking about forgiveness. I have to crack open the door. Like I can't just open the door, go from hypervigilance to receiving. That's that's not realistic. But I can crack open the door to the possibility that I could receive.
Definitely. Um, I've also really recognized one of the gifts of having four children, which is obviously quite a lot of them, is that I very early on with that slightly chaotic scenario, as you can imagine, gave up any idea that I could satisfy everyone else's needs before I could receive myself, because that would be literally impossible. So that was a real gift to me, that I can park other people's needs, and they may never be met, but I do need to meet my own in order to meet anything else that has to be done. So that was a really useful life lesson of chaos, in fact.
Mm.
um, and I think there's definitely a sense that, yeah, as you're saying, that I can't, it's not always easy to move from that doing for everybody else, whether that's professionally or within the family, or socially as well. Like, there's so much impetus to be out there, to be promoting our books and doing this and teaching, and as well as being a wonderful person out in the world, um, which is a lot, isn't it? That just sometimes bringing attention to even what I'm feeling in the moment. So in the midst of that chaos, sometimes I often say to people, and have done through teaching women's health yoga for many years, that you might not get to a spa day or a week or whatever, but actually, if you can even have 3 breaths in the present moment, then that's receiving, and that might be enough. So again, that sort of idea of cracking open the door and just sort of receiving even a little regularly. I think for me that's been the routine, rather than having to be larger things, which then come as time
No, I
evolves.
think larger thing. I think it's very it's a mistake to
Mm,
look for receiving, to look to be replenished by
mm,
large things. It's a privilege to be able to
yeah.
expect those for a start, but also it doesn't teach us. It kind of teaches us to go at full tilt in our lives, to go deplete, 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 deplete,
Mm,
deplete,
yeah.
and then try and fill up in the
Yeah.
weekends. And that's just not going to help us through perimenopause, and that's not going to help us be kick-ass old ladies.
Yeah. And, the irony being, of course, that, we're running retreat days and we're within the wellness arena. So we're sort of finding that balance between not being part of that problem of saying we can fix this within a day or 2 days or within a massage or a yoga class, because of course that is not possible, but offering tools within wellness spaces that are actually sort of more democratic, that people can take back into every day.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, I always have the right now. Here's the top.
yeah.
How are you going to use this on Friday?
100%, because it's walking that line, isn't it? As somebody who wants to help people or facilitate healing, that you're not just offering more commoditization and more things to aspire to, that you then have to do a load of stuff to be able to get there.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I often see with a my client group is they've let go of a lot. They
Mm.
understand about what kind of rest suits them, what kind of food suits them, and they're pretty educated
Yeah.
bunch. And they have a structure of self-care that they put into their lives. And I did this myself, so I'll talk about it. I'll make an I statement about that. I used to get up and I would do my yoga and I would have my smoothie and then I would blah blah and then I would meditate for 5 minutes and then I would and this was all before this was all after I'd sort of run around and got the kids to school and done all that. Then I did like quick meditate.
Yeah.
That's my yoga, and then I'd go to work.
Yeah.
So I had created for myself such a timetable, and it was all healthful, nourishing stuff. But I was doing it in such a way that I wasn't able to receive the goodness from what I was doing.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
So often, because of algorithms, because of social media, and the way that we consume information these days, we are always encouraged to do more, exactly as you say. And our internal, that happens internally too. If only I had that extra fancy practice, or if only I could do the cool qigong like my friend blah blah does, then maybe I could. But actually, what is more healthful is much harder, and that's to do less.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think, in even that commoditization has crept into yoga classes and as examples. So, when I started teaching, an hour and a half was the standard time, which would give people time to arrive and settle, have some kind of practice, have a decent length of shavasana. So shavasana is often now like a minute tacked on to the end, that's when you integrate, and it's probably the most important thing you do in the whole session. But again, it's been sort of just commoditized, that like do, lie down, get up, get back. And it's all squeezed into an hour, sometimes 45 minutes. So again, that sort of, it becomes yet another thing you have to do, which doesn't really bring any true nourishment at all, but can further deplete an already depleted system. So
Yeah.
I think that I then meet people who go, yeah, I tried yoga, but it just didn't really do much for me.
Mm.
my question is always, how did you approach it and how did you, and it's often in that way of like, yeah, I did a class, in
Yeah,
my lunch hour.
yeah. I think going back to sort of early experiences,
Mhm.
um, I think that what often, especially if you have male siblings,
Mhm.
it's the differences are very clear. That if you eat so that you're full, then the young girls are tend to be called greedy, with more of a negative bias than boys. Healthy appetite, greedy.
Definitely. And socially as well, like young girls are bossy if they ask for their needs to be met,
Yeah,
whereas young boys are boisterous and the whole language is so different, isn't it?
yeah. So there's a whole process here that there's recognizing what you need, asking for it, deciding if you want it now. There's a sort of
Mm.
selection discernment process, actually taking it in,
Mm.
and then there's integrating it as well. So that it's a complex process. And having been someone who was, and I tend to be still very quick sticks,
Mm.
much more sort of cortisol driven than what should we do, and and not able to receive because that was forbidden in my family of origin. Really, I have had to use quite a bit. It takes a bit of effort, actually. It takes a bit of muscle and
Mm.
quite a lot of practice. Then if I'm not so well and I'm not so resilient in the times when I'm not so resilient mentally, I will default back to, oh no, don't worry about me. I eat like a little bird.
Right.
Um, and so I still have to pull myself back. And just saying that, it reminds me of the times when I decided to serve, in a family. I have two kids and a partner. When I decided that I noticed what was going on, I decided to serve myself first.
Right. Yeah.
And at the time, it was this like huge, revolutionary, forbidden thing that I should sit down with the food that I wanted in the right quantity that I wanted and eat
Yeah.
before my family. How mad
Absolutely.
is that? But that's there are all sorts of little, you for people listening, there'll be all sorts of little windows in that they notice, oh God, yeah, I really make that person more important in this situation, and how could I center my own needs
Yeah.
first and explore that in a gentle way that is doable for you.
Mm. And noticing really kindly the sort of judgmental language, the inner critic that comes up around that, like, laziness, selfishness, self-centeredness, those are all labels that will quickly come, aren't they? Sort of in the mind going, oh no, I can't, that's not kind, that's not, generous.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas we'll notice in other people having not so much difficulty taking up that space.
Yeah,
Um,
and I was saying in one of our too many aborted
yeah.
Instagram lives this morning, um, about how within female friendship groups there's a whole dynamic about keeping yourself small,
Yeah.
so that if you're the one who receives the compliment, who takes up more space, thank you. Yes, I would really like some more attention, more compliments, to fill myself up within a friendship group. How forbidden that can be in some friendship groups, because there's often an unspoken contract that you have to keep yourself small in order to maintain the bond. And this relates to the nervous system, female nervous system, and fawning, how we keep ourselves you know, small, and in order to preserve the bond. And these are wired into us. And it takes, practice and muscle and awareness and mindfulness to move out of that habit.
And palatable as well, which is, applicable in so many scenarios, isn't it? That, that as we come into menopause and, we sort of,
I'm laughing. Palatable.
yeah, sort of, full of the, fuck it. It's like, suddenly, that need to conform to other people's idea of what is nice
Mm.
or good or pleasing.
Yeah.
What a freedom, but very difficult to negotiate if you've always been within that role of the person at work or within your family or within your friendship group who's, very adaptable, and malleable around other people's needs, taking up that space and holding your, whatever your expression of truth is, within that context, and knowing that you can receive enough for yourself. So whether that's time or, compliment or food or anything, or the right to speak.
Yeah. To have an opinion that's
Yeah,
different.
absolutely.
Mm.
So it's a good subject. So luckily, we've got 2 days, haven't we, coming up,
Yes.
in which we can really explore, um, such a deep subject, isn't it? It's really exciting, I think, to be able to sort of unwrap that. So we've got our 2-day retreat, which is intentionally spaced out, isn't it? In
Yeah.
spring.
Make it more for better integration.
Yes, absolutely. So that as a group and individually, we can integrate those practices and then come back and be accountable
Yep.
also,
And
because
that's on the 29th of March
yeah,
and the 26th of April. Is that right?
that's right.
Okay, at Barkham Village Hall, which is
Mhm.
just a gorgeous
Mm.
location in East
Mhm.
Sussex.
Yeah, it's beautiful space within nature so that we can receive from nature also. We'll be receiving, being made the most glorious food on both days as well by our wonderful Lynn from the vegan experience. We will receive goodies that we're collating for everyone as well. And we will receive not having to care for, you know, obviously we will be caring as a community, but not having to do anything physical to look after anybody else. And really allowing ourselves to receive that nourishment, as well as looking into what that might mean for each of us.
And there's not a subscription, what's it called? Like an installment plan, so
Yes,
that you can spread the costs to make it more doable.
absolutely. With some practices in between as well, so that, again, it can be really integrated, um, and then something that will be really meaningful rather than just something that's of itself and, oh yeah, I had a lovely day.
Mm.
So that you can then apply things into real life, which is where it's going to be most useful.
Yeah. To finish our little unlive,
Mhm.
our little presentation, whatever this is, then I have a short practice for you, which will be about 3 minutes long, something like that, and then we'll come back to say goodbye. So wherever you are, if you'd like to get comfortable, you can be sitting or standing or lying, and just let your shoulders drop as much as they'd like to. You could exhale them down like honey running down your back. And depending on where you are, I'm going to invite you to either stick your tongue out, I'm going to stick my tongue out, or move your tongue around your mouth if sticking your tongue out is too hard for you. So Leo is brilliantly doing both for us. Stick your tongue out, or no, as though you were checking your teeth for spinach. And then just let your jaw soften and your tongue soften. And let your eyes soften back. So your eyes might be open a little bit or closed. Either is fine. Let them soften. And notice the sound of your breath. A little whisper as breath comes in, and a little whisper as breath comes out. Can you hear that? Might be a bit of tummy rumbling. Sounds of the body, noticing the sounds of you. And then noticing the sounds in the room around you. Receiving the sounds from the space around you in the room, a little further. Maybe there are other humans or other creatures. And extending your awareness even further and receiving sounds that are further away. And can you allow these sounds to land softly in your ear? Can the sound be received? Noticing thoughts that arise. Just noticing. And noticing how and if the sound registers in the body. There might be areas of tension with some sounds, or areas of softness. There's no wrong way. This is just a process of noticing what happens as sound is received. Receiving sounds into your system. And perhaps there's a movement that wants to be expressed, or perhaps you grow more still. Just notice how it is to receive sound. Just for a moment. And then noticing the sound of the breath again, coming back. Maybe making the in-breath a little bit longer, a little bit louder. Noticing the sensation of your cuffs. Most of you will have long sleeves, so noticing the texture of the fabric around your wrist, on your hand. Start to bring some movement into the hands. Sensation of fabric or pressure underneath your bum, at your back, if you're leaning against something. Then moving your tongue around your mouth hole. And registering sight, and then just letting your eyes softly open and letting your eyes rest on something that is pleasing for you, some sort of beautiful color in your space as you come back into an everyday awareness. Thank you.
Thanks, lovely. That was great.
So there you have a little exploration to play with. And I expect you noticed all sorts of interesting things about receiving, about choosing to receive, about discernment responses. Um,
And also, who is receiving? Who's the receiver?
yeah. So we're going to sign off here, and we will have information about the 2-day retreat in the usual places in our bios. And
Thanks so much. Lovely to chat.
thank you.